Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar. We're going to be going through how to list seeds in our seed exchange, what we also refer to as the yearbook. So I'm really happy to see people here. The yearbook is sort of the heart of the organization, and the more people that we can have participating, not just as folks who request seed, but also people that participate as listed members, people that list seed through the seed exchange. It's really great to keep building that. So thanks again for coming and learning how. I see it looks like some of you are listed members already, and hopefully we can answer any questions you might have. For those of you who are brand new, who have never listed in the yearbook, maybe who have barely heard of the yearbook, I hope we can also address some of your questions as well. So just to get started, we always start by talking about our mission, which is to save North America's diverse but endangered garden heritage for future generations by building a network of people committed to collecting, conserving, and sharing heirloom seeds and plants while educating people about the value of genetic and cultural diversity. And the mission, sort of the start of the mission, the very first way that we addressed sort of this problem of introducing and preserving biodiversity in the food system was through the seed exchange. This is a little page from Mother Earth News. You see in the center column at the bottom, one of our ads starts. This was the first ad that we had sent out to folks, letting them know that we were interested in starting a seed exchange. Back then they had called it the True Seed Exchange. The idea was basically to share seeds amongst many different gardeners, so that, let's say, in our case, one of our co-founders, Diane, had a couple of varieties of plants that she had gotten from her grandfather, who had originally gotten them from his grandfather, who brought them over from Germany to Iowa when he immigrated. And the realization was that if I'm the only person growing these seeds and something happens to my garden, perhaps that variety's lost. So if instead we can share these seeds and we can get many different gardeners across the country and even internationally now growing these different varieties, then they're less susceptible to be lost forever. The seed exchange started with about 30 people in its first year. People sent a little self-addressed envelope and I think a quarter to cover the shipping costs, and we sent them a little 6-page seed exchange. This is the third annual one on the screen here. It's because it's the only one that, or the first one I should say, that had a photo on the cover. And the rest of them were just text. So today, for those of you who are members and have been, this was the most recent yearbook. We're working on the new one currently. This yearbook had about 500 pages in it, had about 12,500 different varieties that was listed in it. So it's grown quite a bit. The way the yearbook works, it sort of operates a little bit like a phone book, where every year people from around the country and around the world send us a list of varieties that they would like to offer to other members. So we compile them into a book. It's the seed exchange, but we refer to it as the yearbook. It's listed, or I should say organized by plant type, and the listings are alphabetical. So you can see here, this is a variety of pea. After the variety name, it has a few different people, in this case 3 different people, who are offering this particular pea. Each person listing seed is assigned a member code. Each of those kind of correspond to a person. You find a person who's offering the particular variety in the yearbook, you look them up, and then you request seeds from them. And so that's the way that the yearbook operates. Just basically sort of bare bones, this is what people should primarily be concerned with when they are listing seeds in the yearbook. So when you're growing a plant out in your garden with the intent to sell its seeds, it's very important that you maintain the characteristics of that variety in the next generation, so that when you send that particular variety off to someone who has requested those seeds, that variety is going to grow and it's going to be exactly like the description that you provided in the yearbook. It's going to be exactly what they expected. And but quite a bit of the previous webinars that we have done have focused on how exactly to do this, how exactly to make sure that you're maintaining the characteristics of a particular variety through the generations. So I won't go through any of that today. Definitely refer back to any other previous webinars that we've done. They're all posted online. Seed to seed is sort of the seminal publication on seed saving and preventing cross-pollination between varieties, written by Suzanne Ashworth, and a free publication that's really excellent as well that we always refer to as a seed saving guide for gardeners and farmers. It's published by the Organic Seed Alliance and it's available on their website for a free download. I'm going to go through just a few sort of guidelines that we have. Members should have received a little brochure talking about some of these. We're going to cover them a little bit here, and if you have any questions about any of these, don't hesitate to use the chat window there and ask any questions. So the first thing to keep in mind when you are offering things in the yearbook is listing only heirlooms and only open pollinated seeds and plants. So they don't have to be heirlooms, but they do need to be open pollinated, or if you're offering plants instead, if you're offering cyanwood from apples or pears or something like that. That open pollination ensures that you are able to save the seeds year after year. Hybrids are not allowed in the seed exchange because after 1 year of growing them out, that particular gardener can no longer save them and continue planting them. So a couple sources there, obviously ourselves, Seed Savers Exchange. Oftentimes you can find local seed swaps, people offering seeds that maybe are suited to your particular region or maybe have a particular history in that region. Same thing with neighboring gardeners. Hudson Valley Seed Library and really any other seed library. There's a lot of local seed libraries that are popping up. And then Baker Creek, Victory Seeds, other seed companies that focus on open pollinated seeds and plants. Those are all different sources. If you're interested in introducing something, not in our catalog, those are all different sources, and those are all sources that we have used in the past, sources for our listed members' seeds. Also, do not list any GEs, any genetically engineered plants. F1s are first generation hybrids, poisonous, noxious, or controlled seeds and plants. And this depends on the state a little bit, what can and can't be offered. Most fruits and vegetables that you grow in the garden are not going to be controlled. You can send those, but there are sometimes limitations sending and receiving plant material from other states if you're getting cyanwood or grafted apple trees or something like that. And this website here that's listed from the USDA, they have a list of all the plants and seeds and things that are restricted, either for transport between states or even into the United States if you're ordering from someone in a different country. So it's important to take a look at that before you start offering seeds. Flowers and herbs should be listed in a separate flower and herb exchange, not the Seed Savers Exchange yearbook. Some folks aren't familiar with the flower and herb exchange. This is a separate exchange that we have. It is a separate membership, and it's just flowers and herbs. And there are, some flowers and herbs sort of make it into the Seed Savers Exchange yearbook as well, especially herbs. And a little bit of it is because they're sort of ill-defined terms, and often, plants will fall into both categories, but particularly if it's just an ornamental flower, really the flower and herb exchange is where that belongs. And this works the same way. The flower and herb exchange works the same as the seed exchange, just a different publication that's printed. Crossed seed should not be listed, so if you have seed that you know has been crossed, don't list it in the yearbook. Some people will try and list seeds in the yearbook and they'll put in the description crossed with such and such a variety, but we're not interested in having those varieties because they won't produce something that's has reliable characteristics. Unstable varieties as well should not be listed until they're grown out, or if you have a variety that you're working on that you're trying to stabilize and maybe you'd like some help, maybe you'd like some other folks to be growing these varieties and stabilizing them in their own garden, make sure you clearly label that. It helps to put, the original cross took place 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Also, don't offer any varieties before growing them out yourself. So if you get bulk seeds from a seed company, don't just turn around and offer those in the yearbook. This one is kind of important as well. Don't list seeds from outcrossers that have not been hand pollinated or grown in isolation. And a lot of the previous webinars sort of go into detail regarding these. But these plant types, especially squash, watermelon, cucumbers, all the cucurbits, peppers, corn and spinach, which are wind pollinated, And then all the brassicas, including radishes, these should really be isolated in your garden. If you're growing out different varieties, it's important, especially with these outcrossers, that you really understand how far they need to be isolated, or you take steps to either hand pollinate them, like it with squash or corn, or you can do that with other crop types as well, or you can cage them, you can isolate them by distance. Another problem that we're sort of having more and more each year is patented varieties that are being listed. And it's not always, if you're ordering seeds from someone, it's not always really clear if it is a patented variety or not, so you may not know if you're getting it from a seed catalog. But this is a database. This is the Agricultural Research Services. This is another USDA project, and this website here has a list of all the patented varieties. So you can double check before you list it. Otherwise, we run a sort here as well and triple check to make sure we're not listing patented varieties. But it is important to follow those restrictions as well. And then not listing shrubs or non-fruit or not producing trees as well is important. We want the yearbook to be primarily focused on edibles, things that have herbal applications. So it's non-fruit, not producing trees, shrubs don't really fit in here. Some of them may fit in better in the seed and herb, the flower and herb exchange, but maybe not. And then don't list seed from unknown volunteers either. So if you have a tomato plant that just shows up in your garden one year and you decide you want to rename it, maybe you're not sure what it is, or you get some kind of unknown squash volunteer that comes up, don't just name it a new variety and list it, or don't put like unknown volunteer in the title or things like that. And then it's really important to for the yearbook to have some consistency. So if you're not sure of the variety name, don't just guess at the variety name, and please don't rename varieties. It's important to do a little bit of research, a little bit of homework before you get a variety. If you're getting it from someone else, ask them a little bit more about it. Don't necessarily just rename it Uncle Bob's bean or something like that because you got it from Uncle Bob. Ask Uncle Bob what that bean might have been before you offer it. So we're going to go through the listing form here. This is something that we sent out. If you haven't received these and would like to do it this way, we also have an online form that we'll go through as well. But if you'd like to list some seeds that you have through this seed form, get in touch with us. You can email education@seedsavers.org and we'll send you another one happily. But this is a publication that we sent out to members for listing new seeds in the yearbook. And it's fairly straightforward. I'm going to go through a little bit of it here. So first is just entering your name. Pretty straightforward. Your address as well. This is the address that people will send their requests to. It's important that this is accurate and something that you check preferably frequently so that you can receive orders in a timely manner. This third line here is, do you want your contact information to appear in the online yearbook as well? Contact information will be available in the print yearbook, but if you'd like to make it available in the online yearbook, which is really wonderful as well, it's a different avenue for people to search, find new varieties, and contact you. It'd be wonderful if you're willing to offer that in the online yearbook. And the online yearbook is a secure site. It requires a login. It's not just open to the public, so your personal information won't be just available to the world. And then including the following information makes it much easier for members to contact you with questions if they're curious about a particular variety. Providing a phone number, perhaps an email address as well. And these make it really easy for people to get in touch with you. Hopefully you'll also provide your hardiness zone, and then are your offerings organically grown? We don't require organic certification. We just sort of ask that you honestly assess your growing practices. If you would say that they're organically grown, then you can provide a yes there. But again, certification isn't required. There's a standard June 1st cutoff date for ordering from the yearbook, so folks can request seed up to June 1st. After that, it's understood that you won't be filling any more requests. You can specify a different date there. If you don't specify a different date, be listed as June 1st in your description. If you wish to accept requests year-round, you can put a check mark in that box there. And that means that you don't have a cutoff. People can contact you in August if they want to order some sort of brassica seed and plant them in their garden for the fall, and you'll still accept that. And then this comment section here, this is published in the online yearbook and the print yearbook. This is your chance to talk a little bit about, you can talk about your growing conditions, you can talk about your particular gardening practices, you can talk about if you're particularly interested in starting a gardening project or starting a seed saving project. This is sort of your chance to say whatever you'd like to say about yourself, and also to sort of personalize yourself as a listed member and maybe get in touch with other people through this. So I might put, I'm very interested in growing and finding and researching Scandinavian immigrant heirlooms. So I might put that there and hopefully get some information from other folks. But this is a great chance to sort of reach out to that network of about 13,000 people that receive the yearbook and maybe make some contacts through that. So the last part is listing particular varieties that you have to offer. Oops, I'm going to go back one. So the first line there is plant type, and plant type is also on that page. This is a list of all the plant types, and it needs to conform to one of these particular labels. If you're not sure, where it might fit in, there is a miscellaneous category as well, and then there's miscellaneous legumes and miscellaneous solanums and miscellaneous grains and fruits. You can be a little bit more specific, but each of the varieties that you list should fit into one of these categories. And if you'll notice, several of them have subcategories as well. So you see bean, for example. Bean is separated into bush beans and pole beans, and then further separated down into either dry, snap, or wax beans. So it's very helpful if you know that information. Do a little bit of evaluation. You should at least be able to figure out, okay, is this a green cabbage or a red cabbage, or is this hullis oat or a common oat? Squash species I know can be a little bit trickier, which is why we have the squash unknown category. You might get a new variety of squash and you're not sure what particular species that variety falls into. So we have a squash unknown category as well. So I'm going to go through a sample listing here. This is a variety of bean that I grew out in the children's garden here at Heritage Farm. So we'll go through this. This is the form filled out quickly, but I'm going to go through each of them separately just to explain a little bit more as well, and I wanted it bigger so everyone could see it. So the first is the plant type. I know that this is a snap bush bean. This is what it was listed in the yearbook last year when I received it. So I know that, and I also grew it out. I know it's a bush bean. I know it's best when it's used as snap bean. It has tiny little dry seeds anyway that wouldn't be, could be used as a dry bean, but certainly more of a snap bean. And then I'm going to list the variety name there. So this variety was called Blue Jay. The next little section, you see it says has, LQ, MR. These are designations that we have when you're listing seed as sort of an estimate of how much seed you have to offer, and also a little bit of a control over if it is a very rare variety, if it is something that you want to make sure that you're giving it someone who's going to potentially list this in the future. You can make sure that you only offer it to them. So for the Blue Jay bean, the three designations I should say are has, which means you have enough of the seed to fill at least 10 seed requests. LQ means you have it in limited quantities. You can not quite fill 10 requests. LQ means you're only offering it to other listed members with the hope that other listed members will then grow it out and offer it in the yearbook. And then MR designation is something, means you don't have a lot of seed, something that you want to sort of regenerate seed, maybe build up the seed. MR stands for must reoffer. So people that request that seed are pledging to reoffer that seed in the yearbook the following year, or if it's a biennial, they're pledging to offer that seed in 2 years. But for this one I have plenty of seed, so I'm going to mark this as a has quantity. So anyone can request the seed from me through the yearbook, whether they're a listed member or a non-listed member, so someone who's not offering seeds. Maturity, estimate the maturity as best as you can if you didn't, keep a very meticulous record of it, but ideally you'd have a little bit of an idea. I know that this is about 75 days, give or take maybe 5 days to maturity. And it's not necessarily, we're most often referring to that as market maturity, not necessarily seed maturity. So this is a snap bean, 75 days to market maturity, the point where you would eat it, but maybe another couple weeks after that for seed maturity. The box that says your source, this is where you received the seed. In the yearbook, we have a list of different commercial sources and different designations that we have for each commercial source. But if you got it from, if you received the seed from Johnny Select Seeds, you can just write in Johnny Select Seeds and then put the year. In this case, I received this variety from a listed member in Illinois. I got it, I actually got it last year. I put 11, but it should be 12. So I put the listed member code assigned to him and then the year that I received it. And this is really useful for us, sort of trace back where these seeds are originally coming from. You can sort of find, you can sort of trace, okay, I got this seed from this particular member in Illinois. He might have gotten his seed originally from someone in Colorado, and we can sort of go back and trace the history of these seeds, which is really useful. But if your source was, a neighbor, a seed swap, just be as descriptive as you can, and we'll include that in the yearbook. Additional source information, if you have any additional information that doesn't necessarily fit into a nice little box, additional source information might be some more of that history. Maybe you got it from an Amish neighbor who thinks that they have had that variety in their family for 40 years or something like that. Really any additional information you can provide. And then the description is going to be different for just about every single listed member in the yearbook. You can be as thorough or as brief as you want. What I included here is starts out a little bit bare bones, and then I have a little bit more information in there as well. So I just said 5-inch green pods, dry seeds are navy blue with beige speckles, and because I had the chance to meet this guy, I said that it was originally discovered as a natural cross in the garden of Russ Crowe in 1977, so I know a little bit of the seed's provenance, and I can talk a little bit about its history, which is useful and which is really interesting to lots of the folks that are requesting seeds in the yearbook. So you can put, tomatoes, it's helpful to put determinate, indeterminate. If you have weighed any of the fruit, you can list the ounces, talk about different growing characteristics of it. You can put much more information than I put in there, and all that information will be available to people as much as or as little as you want to include. Certainly erring on the side of a little bit more is very helpful. Before I do that, I'm actually going to go back one slide here. So some of the conventions in the description when we are publishing the yearbook, we mostly stay away from capital letters and periods, although I write in all caps, so this is a very poor example. But if you can imagine, these are all lowercase letters when they're being entered in, because someone will go through this list and manually enter in all the information that you provided here. So we will make it conform a little bit to our standards, but it's helpful to be, although detailed, but also be a little bit brief. Don't be too wordy, because we have 700 people that are offering different varieties, and it can get, the publication can get very long. It's a lot of narratives about the seeds, but you can be brief and, or I should say maybe succinct in your description of the seeds. Just use commas to separate sentences. Other punctuation is a little bit messy in the yearbook. So that's all the information about listing the seed through that form. I want to talk a little bit about doing that portion online as well, so that it's helpful for a lot of people. You don't have to fill it out and then mail it in. You can do it right online, and it's saved. And then it saves us a lot of work on this end, because I don't have to go through, or Joanne or someone else doesn't have to go through individually each of those forms and list them by hand. So if you can do it online, that's wonderful. If not, send it in. We're not worried if we have to enter all those in. So under the membership tab, to get to the online yearbook, click the membership tab at the top, and a little drop down will come down, select yearbook, and that will take you to the yearbook login page. Up at the top there, it mentions your login information is the same as the login information for your Seed Savers Exchange online account. So this is the account if you've ordered seeds online from us. This is the account that you've signed in with and ordered seed from us with. If you don't have one, email membership@seedsavers.org. Include your name, your membership number if you have it, and the email address you'd like to use to identify your online access. And we'll set you up with an account. We'll email one back to you, and you can enter your information in from there. It's important that you know this is only available to members, so if you'd like to offer seed, you do need to become a member, and information about that is available on our website. So here I'm just going to log in. This is the page that it takes you to right away. This is sort of the home of the yearbook. As we go through this, I should mention that we are hoping to sort of revamp the online yearbook hopefully in the next couple years. We had tried to do it this year. I had some issues, so we're trying again. In the future, we'd like it to be a little bit more user-friendly, but I'd like to go through all these steps for this year, and then maybe we'll have to do it again next year. Hopefully we will. We'll have a new online yearbook for people to go through. It's a little bit cumbersome, but I want to show you just how to change your password here because it's not in that particular area. But if you go to the Seed Savers Exchange homepage, see where it says Online Store, follow that link. It'll take you to the online store. It's almost hidden, but at the top right of the page you can see it says Account Login. So this is where you'll log in with that information that either you already have because you're a returning customer, or maybe you received from our membership email. And then this is where you can change your password here. And then just simply click Save. There's where you enter in the information. Press Save, and then that will update your password. So we send you a default password when you request an account, and then it's probably safe to change that password as soon as you log in for the first time. So this is the home page again. To start listing seeds, I guess I'll talk about this first. So changing your yearbook preferences. This is basically the top of the form that we had available. So this is all the information that will appear in the online and printed yearbook. So you list your name and your phone number, email address, if your seeds are organically grown, your hardiness zone, different things like that. Seed prices is on there. I didn't see it on the other list there, but if you are hoping, if you'd like people requesting seeds to pay different prices than what we have suggested, you're welcome to do that, and we understand that some people have different shipping costs, and also some people are maybe selling grafted apple trees as opposed to just cyanwood, things like that. So this is your chance just to explain that a little bit. And then there's a little calendar to mark the cutoff date for when you would like to not receive any seed requests past that date, and if you don't fill it out, the default is June 1st. And then there's a little comment section, 5,000 characters, so you can say quite a bit about yourself. And then your address, city, postal code, things like that. So listing seeds, you're going to click My Seeds, which is at the top of the page here. And then you're going to click List a New Seed after that. I haven't listed any seeds, at least at this point. So I'm going to click List a New Seed there. And that will take you to the seed listing page. So this is very similar to the form that we filled out. So I'm going to list this tomato here. This is a dwarf barrel beauty tomato. This was from well, I guess I'll tell you in the description. I'll save it. So this is a tomato. So you select the plant type first from the list, and then you'll select the subtype if there are subtypes available. So this is a green tomato, a green when ripe tomato. So I'm going to select other colors in this case. Tomato other colors is all the green when ripe tomatoes, bicolors, and striped tomatoes, things like that. And here it is, Dwarf Barrel Beauty. So if it's been offered through the yearbook in the past, its name will populate here. If it has not been offered in the past and you're sure that it's a new variety, it's not just under a different name, take a look around. If it's also known as something else, look for that name as well. Sometimes it helps to switch the wording around if you can't find it. You see right above Dwarf Barrel Beauty, dug in gold and dug in white. Maybe you received the seed and it was called gold dug in or something like that. So just take a look around, make sure that you don't have it, or make sure that it's not listed under a different name there. If it is, you click New Variety, and that will bring you to a page for writing the name in of a new variety and starting that process. But it is very difficult to sort of move that information around once it's under the name of a different variety, so be very meticulous in your in your naming of the varieties. And then listing the maturity, where you received it from. So I received this last year from a listed member in Wisconsin. I have enough seed for all members. And then I'm going to talk about it in the description. So this is a dwarf variety from Craig LaHoulier's Dwarf Tomato Project. I say it's a 3-foot tall plant. It's very strong. I think I go on to say it's got about 6-ounce fruits, green when ripe. It has a little hint of a pink blush on the blossom end when it's ripe. I say it's got a really great flavor. I think that might be all I have in the description there. I talk about it was originally crossed in 2007 by Patrinanuski Small in Australia. So some other information, whatever you have available is just wonderful. And then there's another source information, sort of that additional source information where you might have gotten the seeds. And then there's a spot to upload a picture as well. So I did upload the picture. You just click browse, you find it on your computer, and you enter it in. So that picture I showed previously will be uploaded to the online yearbook. It won't be available in the print yearbook because there's no pictures, but it'll be available online. And then you press list seed, and that will list the seed in the yearbook, so you can see a little bit of information there. If through the course of the year the seed is sold out, you can go to details, you can press edit, and you can change that availability to sold out. It's not something you can do in the yearbook, but it's something, or in the printed yearbook, but it's something you can do in the online yearbook, which is helpful, so you don't get requests after you've already sold all the seed. So that is sort of the basics of listing seed. A couple other things I want to mention because I did get an email about some previous questions. So when you are filling out your yearbook comments here, you can talk about how often you'll fill seed requests. So maybe you'll only fill seed requests at the end of each month. You'll compile all the seed requests and you'll fill them. Maybe you'll fill and send out requests as soon as you get them. Any sort of comments you can put like that into the yearbook comments section is really helpful for people when they're requesting seed, so that they're not requesting seed and then waiting weeks and weeks and not understanding that you don't fill requests until the end of the month. So it's important to put a little information in there. Another question I should say was about when you are sending the seed out, what sort of packages to mail them in, how to package them up. We suggest that folks package the seeds, especially big seeds like beans and peas, things that are really prone to damage in transportation, that they're wrapped up in just a little bit of bubble wrap or some sort of packaging that'll prevent some damage. Small, hard seeds aren't as susceptible to damage, but it still is very helpful to package them up in a way that through the shipping process they're not damaged, because that can really affect the seed germination when the folks who requested them receive them. So there's some other guidelines as well in the printed yearbook, but I can go through them a little bit. How many seeds per package? We recommend that it's 25 seeds per package for just about every seed. So the exceptions are corn, where we ask that you send, I think, 200 seeds, quite a bit more, because corn is really susceptible to inbreeding depression. If you're expecting someone to regenerate the seed or reoffer that seed, they need a lot more than 25 plants. They need about 200 plants. And then for brassicas and alliums and umbels, so carrots, things that are also very outbreeding, really susceptible to inbreeding depression, at least 60 seeds for those. Thanks a lot for coming to the presentation, and I really hope that some of you who are interested in offering seeds in the future will do it. If you've got seeds this year that you'd like to offer, we are thrilled when we get new members listing seed, because like I mentioned earlier, that is the heart of what we do, and the best way to ensure that these particular varieties thrive and that these varieties find their way back into our gardening culture is through the seed exchange and similar seed exchange. It's really through other gardeners and farmers offering seeds to other people. And as much as we try to offer seeds in our collection out to the public, the seed exchange is really the best way to send out the greatest diversity of crops to the world.